Hi, Mike Shope, Adam Krautwurst. Merry Christmas or Happy New Year on December 27th. Adam, which is better?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays from us, the deep end. Week 17 ahead. We have some looking ahead and looking back as well. You really should have seen the last 10 minutes, like a boomer trying to understand the tech. And it wasn't me, it was Adam the whole time. It was so bad. But I was trying to tell him what to do, and I wasn't wrong, but still wasn't helping. You know, my kids can relate.
Yes.
And so can yours.
Yes.
All right. Draftsharks Invitational, the main event, 1 week left. Football guys, the 5K that you're in the finals in. What to do when somebody offers you a chop for the finals, and do you tell them straight, or do you go through a third party, or do you just say no, or do you pretend not to take the call? So much to talk about, including the storm for the ages that just hit Buffalo, and that is saying something because we have a storm for the ages every month. Thanks for tuning in, tuning in. Now I'm the boomer. Tuning in, watching, listening. Powered by Draftsharks. Mike and Adam, we are the deep end. Tomorrow, though, Happy New Year, right? What, midnight tonight?
I don't know when Happy New Year starts, but I've had interesting conversations of when does it end? Like end of January? Like Happy New Year? Like how long does that? Did you take that on for?
That's got to be way before that. January 5th.
January 5th. Okay, fair enough.
After that, you're into a work week. You know, it's just, come on.
Yeah, move on.
Move on. Well, I live in Grand Island, New York, just north of Buffalo. Adam lives in Rochester. I lived in Rochester, and depending who I'm talking to, I may be saying that is Buffalo, or I may be saying that it's a million miles away. It depends on the conversation. But as you probably know, and much of the country experienced it, some version of it, a storm for the ages. I mean, really, like the blizzard of 2022 will live on for decades in Buffalo. Dozens of deaths, including, as I found out today, my Aunt Barbara, who has had some health problems. I'm not as close to her as I wish I had been. She was my favorite. She was our favorite growing up. Like, just Aunt Barbara, she had a pinball machine. She and her husband, Jeff, she had a bumper pool table. We loved Thanksgiving every year was at Aunt Barbara's. And she remarried this beautiful guy named Charlie. Her daughter, Jill, my cousin, one year on Labor Day, 2009, this would have been, we all had a limo to go out on Labor Day weekend in Buffalo. And it was reconnecting with different cousins and relatives, including Aunt Barbara. And Jill had rescued these two dogs from South Carolina. They were brothers, and they were fighting all the time. And she was just like, in passing, she's like, we really have to find a new home for Samson. And then everybody pointed at me and said, you need to take Samson. So we did. The next day, Barbara's daughter, Jill, brought her over, my cousin, and then we had Samson. And the day after that, we got a call from our adoption agency. We found you a match, and that was Julius. And a month later, Julius was born. So we got Samson, then we got Julius.
There you go.
And it all started. But tremendous loss. It was just like the snow wreaked havoc in so many ways. It's not even over yet. We had, where I live on Grand Island, which is usually not that affected, just blinding snow, and we lost power for 40 hours, and it was nowhere near as bad as it was in other parts. But we're so sad about Aunt Barb, and I don't know, like, these things are real life things. You want to be as prepared as you can, but sometimes you can't do everything you needed to do. So sorry to start on a sad note, but this really was, a lot of us have been through lots of these, and this one was different, Adam, it was just too much.
Yeah. And I hate to, normally I'm not naive to these things because I'm, your neighbor. I'm in Rochester, and we know, the weather and stuff. And I've been deployed to Buffalo through my job to help in situations like this. And there was never any talk of us going out there. And normally you hear like storm in Buffalo, you think feet and feet of snow, like you guys had a couple weeks ago. Right. But this was like, it wasn't necessarily all the snow. It was the wind and the cold and the combination of everything that just made it, really, really difficult. And so it's just the worst to see. And then, people, they don't have food and they don't have power, and now they're, the looting going on at the stores, and it's just for survival. It's just, it's wild to think, our thoughts and prayers go out with everyone from Buffalo and Grand Island. Cause it's just, with the storm you just had, and then, it feels like you're just coming off of like the shooting that happened last year. And it's just, man, oh man, Buffalo's really been through the ringer, and hopefully, the sports world can, take a little eye off of it for a little bit and be able to kind of help in that way.
And it was Christmas Eve, right? So Saturday, our generator quit. We were outside, my wife and I, every hour, just kicking at it and trying to make it work, and we're lucky to have one. But if anybody cares to, not that I'm asking, but I've done many shows with you, and in the summer months, I do them outside up on the balcony. And part of the problem we had here with the wind was we have no coverage. Like, I'm grateful for this. I love this about where we live, but we're right on the water and there are no trees at all, and neighbors are way far apart. So when the wind, it's never happened before in my lifetime like that, but when it's in the 70s for hours, 60, 70 miles an hour like that, it's a hurricane. You're just getting blasted by it. But my brother-in-law, Scott Kalman, and but it was like 90-10, Scott, put up a trampoline for my daughter's birthday last year. She's 11.
Yeah.
And the trampoline is still standing, which is pretty good. Like this big, awesome golf dome in Williamsville was torn to shreds. Like, just.
Is that the golf dome right off the expressway there that you drive by and you see?
It's a different one. There are two big ones like that. This one is more toward Williamsville, Clarence, that direction. But it was, just total devastation. I can't even imagine. And all the equipment inside, if there were people inside, hopefully not. I don't even know. Just, really bad. But, I'm in, and we are in the sports talk business. And this is always very sort of complicated when you're trying to talk about sports at a time when serious things are happening. That can be weather, that can be politics, violence, whatever it is. And so you just try to balance that. And it's you can never do it that well. But let's talk about how I'm probably going to lose the Draftsharks invitation.
onto a better note. I know. And the funny thing is, there's nothing funny, but through the thick of it all, I'm checking in on you. You're texting me, let me know how you're doing. It's like, hey, the family's fine. We're going to survive. But freaking Tyler Higbee won't stop scoring touchdowns.
Right on. Totally. Right. Who can't relate?
Oh, my God.
Who can't relate?
I love it. All right. I'll pull up the rosters here. I'll pull up the little spreadsheet here.
Yeah, this is my little way of
following
the Draftsharks Invitational. Myself on the left, John Scuderi, Crino, and Kelly. On the right, we've sort of traded the lead back and forth. And I was sitting pretty on Saturday. Like, Ramondre Stevenson bombed for him.
Yep.
Wentz played, but whatever.
Yep.
Stephon Diggs had 2 targets.
I know.
Like, it was setting up really well for me. And then Jeff Wilson scored a touchdown Sunday. Okay. And then that Ram Denver game, it was Higbee and Judy. I texted you, as you'll remember, whenever it's Christmas Day, you have 2 players on terrible teams. How are they both getting hurt in the first quarter and going back in?
I know.
And smashing.
I know.
So Higbee, 9 for 94 and 2. Judy, 6 for 117. I can't believe I remember those stats.
Yep. And you're never
going to. Could have been worse. It could have been worse last night. Pittman and Palmer against Diggs. Pittman had a little bit. So he's up by, 9 points?
Pittman and Palmer against who? Sorry, you said Diggs.
Diggs.
Oh, I see. Yep.
Yeah. Whoops, sorry. And Pittman was like 3 or 4 catches.
Yeah.
But, it could have been worse, but we're 9 points away. John's been great. We're texting every week, in usual sort of gambling way, you sort of telling the other person why they're going to win.
And if people are wondering why you have this little homemade spreadsheet, is because in the Draftsharks Invitational, you guys are in separate leagues. It's a tournament, So being in separate leagues makes it so that you have to kind of follow, you guys have been emailing back and forth. And so, but yeah, it's going to be down to the wire. So what's it, a 9-point? It's a 9-point spread here for him going into the five.
I think so. Do you have the standings?
I forgot to bring them up. I can find them after. I have to show this picture first.
It's John, me, Mike Leone, and then JJ Zacharyson and Fantasy Mojo, who are both in my group.
Yeah, I saw that. Mojo's. Yeah, someone's
He's
in
5th overall, but in 3rd.
Someone's in 11th place overall and number 1 in their league. I forget who it is, but
see, that's good though for me because I felt like my advantage was the first 2 guys, at least maybe the first guy didn't know it was Superflex, and so Hertz and Kelsey fell to me at 12 because it was the first one.
Yeah,
but that actually does hold water. If 2 other guys are doing, they could be doing better than me, just for luck. Maybe we all benefited from being the first draft of the tournament. I'm not sure that's right, but
maybe. But yeah, no, good luck. 9 points and $5K up top.
So we'll see if I get Jalen Hurts. We'll see if John gets Lamar Jackson or even Carson Wentz this week.
Yeah,
he might. Hurts, I don't know. Like, do you think he plays?
I don't, because I think Minshew's good enough to win with. At home against who do they got? New Orleans, yeah.
These are the matchups we memorized between May and August.
You memorized them. I didn't memorize them. But
ask me anything about Week 17 matchups 2022. Right. Ask me anything.
That's right. And all that matters is, do you have Zylstra? You know what I mean? You're memorizing all these matchups. Do you have Zylstra? That's all that matters.
No.
Oh my God, unbelievable. But yeah,
I do have Byron Pringle.
I think Minshew is good enough to win this game. And so I think they rest Jalen Hurts.
And if they lose, he can play next week if they, feel like they need to win that game.
Yeah.
Dallas wins,
For
Dallas
sure.
playing Thursday night.
Hopefully he plays.
Well, so that'll be interesting. And speaking of drafting 12th.
Right. Speaking of getting lucky out of the 12th spot.
Easy. Our friends,
yes,
Nick Costantino, Sean Stutzman, and Don Barani are this close to repeating as main event champions. Most of the high stakes world is aware by now. 2 weeks ago, when it happened, Sean texted a small group of us. Mike Leone was, in the group and like, hey guys, look, I had just looked, and there it is, Marv Levy 6. We talked about it last week. On top of the main event. They were down going into Sunday, but then they were all set up through Sunday. Adam, I don't know, how incredible, you're more experienced than I am, would this achievement be?
I mean, it's just it's so, if they would have done 50 main events this season, I'd be like, oh, well, they're really good players. They're doing 50 more than, they're probably in the top 2%, maybe 5% of the amount of teams that are in. Yeah, they got a good shot. But I think they did 7 main events, maybe something like that. And I think, you correct me if I'm wrong, and we'll have them on the show next week. I think they only got 1 into the race, 1 bullet in, I think.
I don't know.
No, more than that.
No, I don't know.
Oh, you don't know? Okay. I think they might have gotten 1 in. But we're going to pull up the team now. So this is for people who are watching, this is a picture because it was done live in Vegas. So they didn't input these boards into the computer. So we couldn't get the draft board, but this is a picture that they had taken from the draft in Vegas. They're team 12. And so I'll list off the players, the people who are listening and not watching. So at 12, they went Kelsey Lamb. Yes, that's not a typo. Kelsey at 12, never saw him go later than that. When you run pure, you just run pure. Kyle Pitts at the 10 spot, by the way. So
was that you?
No, it was not me. Believe it or not, it was not me.
Who would you have taken there?
Travis Kelsey.
Not Barkley?
No, I probably had enough Barkley at that.
Wait. Okay, so 2 key points right here.
Yes.
If you take Kelsey, and then I have enough Barkley, it's your distribution that you're thinking about.
Correct.
If you take Barkley, you're going, there are 4 picks after me, and there are 3 tight ends I would take.
Sure. Or that. I think I still go Kelsey. I think I still go Kelsey.
Well, distribution is so pivotal to these, and that is where there's as much randomness as anything, because like Biplop was in this draft, Andrew Schellenberg was in this draft. Who knows how many?
Schellenberg is Schellenberg 10? He might be 10. He loved Javonte Williams and Pitts.
I don't know.
That might be him.
Maybe, I don't know, but like this was Thursday afternoon in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So the first drafts, I think, Adam, right? The first drafts that were held in Vegas were Thursday morning.
Yes.
And so this would have been the second round of drafts in Las Vegas that there were. And you have, I mean, just like naturally, some of the highest volume players are there.
Yeah.
That's these guys. I mean, they didn't do all the drafts, but, you know, Bip or Mongooses, these guys who do a lot of them, they would have been in the room. The bare knuckle was the same night, and Nick was in that draft, and so was I, and so was Mongoose, right? And so was Scott Connor. So you have, like, it's the beginning of the weekend. It's really 3 days. It's Thursday to Saturday, and this is 12:30 in the afternoon. At 9 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, you're not drinking yet, but at 12:30 you are. You've done one or you haven't done one. None of that is necessarily germane to this draft, but you see a first round that we rarely saw. I mean, you saw it's not on the screen, but Chase went 3 in this first round. It went Taylor, Jefferson, Chase, McCaffrey, fine, Kupp, Diggs. We were talking, we flew out of Vegas going, Dave Hubbard was right. Like, pick Diggs in the top 4, whatever, 4 or 5, whatever that was. Everybody was in love with him, and that changed. Well, that necessarily didn't change, but it's been in decline. Adams, Eckler, fine. Cook, all right, that's early. Yeah. Pitts is like, this is my flag planting on Pitts.
Yeah.
So Barkley, Kelsey.
So information's flying in. They did have 7 main events, and they did only have 1 bullet that get in.
Are we on the air or something?
We're on the air. And Andrew Schellenberg picked 11th. So, Barkley, I know Barkley, but hey, Barkley, fine. Like,
that's my bare knuckle team.
That's
Barkley
right.
Andrews.
There you go.
Judy.
So, but yeah, let me read this off real quick for the people who are listening and not watching. Kelsey, Lamb. Then they came back at the 3-4 and went Fournette, Allen Robinson. Then they came back and went Devonta Smith, Patrick Mahomes, Stevenson, Kadarius Toney,
Sky Moore.
I'm like, who's Moore? Like Sky, because it's blurry on my screen. Sky Moore, Treylon Burks, Gainwell, Mostert, Parker, Wilson, Spiller, Tucker. No one of note from there on out. So compared,
Adam, Rondale Moore was the pick before Sky Moore.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I was like, there's no way DJ Moore fell 7 rounds. I mean, I know they got
DJ Moore went 5. Wait, who's that Moore? That's Elijah Moore.
Oh, there you go.
The third round is 11 receivers and Fournette.
Incredible.
11. Seriously, it is.
Fournette.
It's literally DJ Moore went 3-9. So you can see him at 9.
I can't wait to have him on the show to talk about this team.
DJ Moore?
First or second? No, just their team in general, the Bills guys, the Go Bills, Marv Levy guys, because like I know, like I've talked to them so much, like I know that 2 of those guys hated Allen Robinson, and they took him there anyways because one of them loved him. You know, Leonard Fournette drops around in ADP because all those receivers go right. So
not even. I mean, yes. If you were to ask me, which I was going to ask you, what was their smartest pick? Fournette is a candidate.
Oh, absolutely.
You're playing off value there. Or it's Stevenson, but even Stevenson at 7-12 isn't Herculean, you know? And everybody later, you don't see Chris Olave on this team. You don't see Miles Sanders on this team. You don't see Jacobs. You don't see, you know, it's Ben Skoranek, right? Like you don't see late, these guys would have to cop to this. You don't see late Jeff Wilson. They went for this is something I'm going to learn from. They did the 2 Dolphins, Mostert and Wilson, and that's been good.
But they weren't Dolphins, though. Well, I mean, Wilson wasn't, right? Or am I crazy?
Right. He
Jeff
was on the
Wilson came, like,
49ers.
mid-season. Yeah.
Never mind.
I really like their Devonta Smith pick. I mean, that was a little early. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, end of the fifth.
12.
That was a little early for him, but when you look at the third round, is all receivers. Like the receivers got pushed up in this draft. So Smith was a nice was a pick that you might not expect. And I'm saying this in the most respectful way possible because I love these guys. But last year's, like, you compare this team to last year's team, this team stinks compared to last year's team that they had. They were number one from every minute last season. This team is like, there's Allen Robinson, who I love. They lose Allen Robinson, Tony dead, Sky Moore dead, Treylon Burks dead. It's the opposite of what they had last year when they hit every single pick.
Your tone leaves no doubt that you're being very respectful, by the way. Listen, Sean and these guys who are watching and chirping on get in the chat, and let's do this out in front. We're on the air. Adam says we're on it. The agreement was we were not recording this, but apparently he put it on YouTube. I mean, I can't believe I missed the Dolphin thing so badly. That's right. Isaiah Spiller never played. Ty Chandler never played. Damian Williams never played. Ben Skowronek they had to have cut. So Nick told me a couple things about their season. He said in week 2, they picked up Zay Jones for $58. Full disclosure, never in a million years would I have done that. Or Adam.
Correct.
Adam and I, in a dynasty league, which we were good, were offered Zay Jones for Chase Edmonds when he was still on the Dolphins, and we laughed it out of the room. And it became a complete 180 right from that moment. So Nick, Dom, and Sean might have seen like a path for Zay Jones on a Jacksonville team that was always sort of better than its record and, target share. That's something that I feel like Zay Jones for me was a miss. I mean, I was on the air in Buffalo when he was traded up for in the second round, and he was cut right away. And then he did that, whatever scene that was in Vegas or LA. And like Zay Jones has kind of always been condescended to. I got Evan Silva in my ear with I'm not going to capitulate on Zay Jones.
Yeah.
And so he's sort of like a never ever, but these guys did it. And they started him in the first week of the playoffs when they were behind and he smashed. And the next week they benched him.
That's it. No one would care. That's like the Josh Jacobs thing. It's all about timing. If he did that, if Zay Jones did that week 7, they wouldn't be winning $1 million and nobody would care. But he does it at the perfect time for them, which is so awesome. Like it's incredible. And they started him. I wouldn't even have started him. Like they had to force it to not only have him, but start him because they had some other options that we've talked about before. Like they are just locked in to like the best plays, and that's what you got to do. And they've been doing really. They've just been nailing it.
They started him because they were losing.
Sure.
They did what you would do if you were down 50 points and you had won the tournament the year before. And I don't know, the guy you have is not that good. So you play Zay Jones against Dallas. And, that was a fun game to project.
Maybe. Yep.
Yeah, maybe. And then McKinnon happens at the same time. And then you're sitting at 233 like we're in first.
Yep. Jerick McKinnon was the guy for them to pick up for them. Looks like they picked up Joe Burrow last year. And so
McKinnon, Nick says, was in week 8 or 9 for $25. And that was also very savvy. McKinnon was somebody in all the underdog drafts was just sort of ignored. They acquired Ronald Jones. This Pacheco was getting buzz. They still have CEH. We argued about CEH all summer. And there was McKinnon, who they started and used a lot in the playoffs last year on a team trying to go back to the Super Bowl for the 3rd straight year. And that did not get enough credit.
Yeah. And it's what's crazy is like, what if somebody bids $26? You know what I mean? That's all it takes is someone bids 26, you're not winning $1 million. You know what I mean? Like it's just amazing that everything, the way everything works out. Because I guarantee you, and we'll have them on the show next week, so I don't want to give away too much of what they said.
They have not agreed yet, by the way.
Well, we're 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, whatever. We're gonna have them on the show, but
ever soon.
But I guarantee you, when we asked them, we're gonna be like, "Hey, was this your best team this season? Was this like your favorite team that was had the most talent?" They're gonna be. I guarantee you, they're gonna say no, because they're gonna hate the Robinson pick. They're gonna hate the Tony Moore Burks, like, and it just works out the way that it works out, and they are running hot.
Adam, I think you'll join me in saying, Nick, Dom, Sean, we really hope you win.
Oh, absolutely.
We love being friends with you, and everybody in fantasy is like, wow, that would be incredible to have as a thing if you go 2 in a row. Wait, hang on, Nick, slow down. He did enter the chain, did follow the rules, but can you imagine that same steak dinner next year?
Oh,
if they go back to back, how many people will be at that table, and how big will that credit card roulette bill be next year at Kraft Steak? Kraft Steak is going to have to know, listen, here's the whole story. Tom Colicchio, all of you people, we're coming back, that same waiter, the credit card roulette times 3. And, if Nick wins again.
Listen, it's only credit card rule. The only guys that are going to be in credit card roulette are the 3 guys from this team. All right. They're buying dinner for everybody after this. Okay?
That's the contingency. Like, that's the rule.
We have to
do something. We have to take him to the Purple Orchid a different night.
But Nick says we had Lamb in week 15 versus Zay. So it was the bring back, the old bring back, the old DFS bring back. So good for them. I love it. Wait. What?
Was that by design?
And when they drafted him?
When they added Zay Jones?
No way.
No way. Let's find out. When they added Zay Jones, was it any part of the thought process that they had Lamb for week 15? Or, like, when they drafted Devontae Smith, you're saying that was early, but did they think about week 15? They had just won the main event. Like, it's 3 weeks. Okay.
Told you. Come on.
So when you draft Devontae Smith, for me, that was setting up for Hurts. But they knew they were picking Mahomes with the next pick to go with Kelsey.
Yes.
So Devontae Smith was like, we really like Devontae Smith, or we like him fine, and we only have 11% of Devontae Smith. Like, what?
Right. I know. I'm just laughing because this is the sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just sort of thinking of these things, and I'm making noises. They only had the 2 receivers, and then I don't think they wanted to build like that. So they wanted a 3rd receiver there with Devontae Smith. Who else was it going to be? Renfro was the next receiver picked. Michael Thomas. Maybe they didn't like Michael Thomas.
Good for them.
That was an interesting pick. Devontae Smith was a very interesting pick at 5'12".
Look at George Pickens at 7'11". Oh my. Our guy Shelly was. I know Shelly loved Pickens. I love Pickens too. But this is the first time in the history of maybe any show where we're doing an interview via message board.
Those guys can wait on hold.
That's right. We're doing an interview. We're going to have them on my show.
Try to get on my show. Forget it.
We're just gossiping about them, and oh yeah, get them on your show.
Whatever.
Get them on our show, and just. But yeah, no. Shout out to the guys out of Buffalo. I mean, if you want to talk about, Buffalo's been through a rough one last year, but let me tell you, the fantasy football world, the FFPC main event champs last year, probably this year, we're talking Leone, we're talking the FFPC playoff challenge winner out of Buffalo from last year. It's just the list goes on and on and on. So, I'm excited. I'm going to be locked into their lineup along with some other lineups that I've got going, but not near as exciting as them.
Go on.
Not near as exciting as them. So good luck to those guys. Best ball formats. Michael, you want to talk about some best ball formats?
Well, that's a good amount of the chat this week is like, okay, so here we are at week 17, the best ball mania, 451,200 teams playing for $2 million. Week 17 correlation apocalypse has arrived. And like, oh, I had 70 teams, and how come none of them are still playing? I mean, the only point I wanted to make about this was, and this will continue to get better in fantasy football because of the money being made on the other side, like Underdog proved. There is a format for whatever you want. If you want to play a 3-week tournament, it's going to be out there. Drafters, DraftKings, other sites will emerge. They're going to be out there. If you want to play for $2 million, you're probably going to have to do it. You're going to have to live like this, where most of the field gets cut week to week. The randomness shows its ugly head, and that's how it goes. I mean, that's how the lottery works. Like, you can't expect to win. So I have to sneeze, but if you the lesson is do your utmost work to find the format that you want, because I signed up for all these underdog teams and they all got cut because Davante Adams didn't have a good game. That's not really surprising. It's sometimes week 15 there was more of that in terms of touchdowns and variance than you're used to, but it isn't the perfect storm. It isn't just like this has never happened before. It's just fantasy football. It's just the NFL. And I would add that I think one thing we've seen this year, and sorry, Adam, in advance, but I plan on talking about this a lot.
Do it.
Next year, teams are appreciating finally, like the NBA and other sports, the value of spacing their players out. Whereas if you played fantasy football for 10, 15 years, which I didn't, you're like, oh, I can't believe this guy was good last week. Why wouldn't they use him this week? So much smart analysis on here's the usage. This is what it should project to. But teams, I think, with more analytics people in the background, all the money in the world to spend, we're not going to use our guys. You're going to see players rest. Maybe it won't be disclosed because football culture is let's not tell anybody what we're going to do about anything. That's how football does it. So you get situations where I thought the guy was healthy. DeAndre Swift was not on the injury report. How come he got 5 touches? That's going to happen all the time. It could ruin fantasy football because what we should probably want to do is expand our lineups by 50% and just give the better teams more cover. And often the better teams are the teams that are, the commissioner has the better teams. So you want to expand your lineups and sort of give yourself a little bit of a bigger safety net. Maybe the big tournaments will adjust and do that. But NFL teams, more games are being played. There's 17. There's going to be 18. You're just going to want to rest guys, and they're going to try their hardest to not tell you who that's going to be. Think of all the situations this year when you get done watching, before you go to bed, write down, go through the season, all the times this year where you thought 100% something was going to happen, not even in terms of production, but usage, and then it didn't. Teams are not that smart. They're not as smart as we are yet, but they're still like sort of evolving in their own way, and that is going to be the future. It's just going to make it harder for us.
Yeah, I think that's an argument for best ball, I think is what you're saying, is the fact that like we don't have to make those decisions. Like, okay, if this guy plays in air quotes and doesn't do much, well, at least we have a guy that is on our bench that can fill in, and that's an interesting point. Like, do you think? I mean, you may have talked about this on the air in Buffalo. I may have missed it, but do you think that's what's going on with Stephon Diggs, for an example? Because everyone's, I know he's a local Buffalo, whatever, but like everyone in the country is complaining about Diggs and Davante Adams. It's not happening with Adams because they stink and they're trying to win games. But like, do you think the Bills are just running him out there and saying, hey, this is not going to be a Stephon Diggs game?
No, I don't know, but I don't think that.
Yeah.
I think the Bills don't really know what they have throwing the ball right now.
Yeah.
Like Diggs is sort of annoyed and nobody else is really there as a counter. Like Beasley being gone has changed it. Diggs is getting older. What I want to know, but I don't know, is whether he's separating like he used to. Defenses are playing. The whole league is different. So it could be harder for him. It's also cold out every day.
Yeah.
And they have, 5-6 games left. So that to me is an unknown. But I do think that teams will start to more variance, more guys, fewer backup special teams guys, more receivers, more, skill guys, gadget guys, who can, more Jeff Driscolls even.
Yeah. I mean, I really agree with you. And I think, I've thought about this before. Like, why, if no one's returning kickoffs, why do we need an entire special team? Like, why can't we go get a guy? And I'm just because people always joke about stuff like this. You always say, well, LeBron James would be a great NFL tight end. Well, hold on a minute. Like, maybe it's not like, why can't you find a 6'8", basketball player to bring in inside the 10-yard line every time that doesn't play special teams. It does nothing else. I mean, in baseball, you got pitchers that come in and throw 4 pitches,
Right.
Every 5 days. NFL team, if every kickoff goes through the end zone, you don't need an entire special teams. Grab a guy that can come in, like you said, Jeff Driscoll type, a guy that can run an inside the 5 offense that can't be stopped because he's a running back and a quarterback and all this other stuff. Like that would be really cool, I think, for fantasy to get more specialty type players. But you're right, it would make it more frustrating. It's
going to change a lot in the next 5 to 10 years, and it really always has. In terms of the Bills, McDermott's done a great job, but special teams is so important. Everything is so important. The wiring in your head is like everything is so important. If they ask Sean McDermott after a game about a tackle that his gunner made at the 11-yard line, where the score was 40-9, he'd be like, "Oh, that was a huge play. That was so important." Jake Kumaro is on this roster. Tywan Jones, good in the locker room. Isaiah Hodgins, yeah, we're all set.
Right.
So Isaiah Hodgins is waived. They held him for 2 years.
Yep.
Off injuries, and they're like, we don't have room because other guys are more important. Tanner Gentry.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. Like any third running. Hines.
Right.
Even.
I know.
And he's super young and good. The Giants, look, the coach of the Giants, the general manager of the Giants were here. They drafted him. They coached him. Like, come on over. Isaiah Hodgins. There are a lot of big names you would bench this week for Isaiah Hodgins.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Hodgins is. Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's been a debacle for a lot of these big time players, and Hodgins. Yeah, Hodgins was stuck around for a couple of years, and then you let him go, and now he's blossoming. In other spots, it's like, how did you not? Like you said, you got to keep the third linebacker on the team. Like, really?
It's not surprising. I mean, receivers are everywhere. Look at these recent drafts, supply and demand. It has to be. There's so many guys. Gabe Davis was in the 4th round. We came out of last year like Gabe Davis is incredible. He's not incredible.
Yeah.
He's okay. He can do certain things. Other guys can do other things. It's fine. But we have a lot of these guys right now. And in terms of fantasy, filtering as best you can that stuff out is the challenge right now. That's the edge. Like, you and I picked up Hodgins in the 1K Dynasty 6 weeks ago because we knew he was good and nobody was talking about him. People were talking about how bereft the Giants were at receiver every time, but it was never about Isaiah Hodgins. So, like, he's better than Richie James. He's better than anybody else they have, maybe not Slayton. So, you can't know. You can't know. I'm not saying you can know, but you can. Everything is an odds play in fantasy football. Everything is an odds play. And so that's another one.
Yeah, no, I like it. That's good. And we'll talk more about that. We got the Dynasty podcast. So pick back up in the winter. I'm sure we'll do another startup. You know what I mean? For the fans. Do another startup for the fans. So we'll do that. But speaking of the fans, I got a 5K lineup I want to show you. If I can figure out how to pull this up here. So I am in the 5K playoffs over at the FFPC. Let's see. Let's go to live scoring here. Let's just show you where I am here. So live scoring. I am the portfolio. I am in second place. I'm down by 17 to Fat Frankie Inc., who I think has a couple of teams in the top 20 of the main event. I think I saw him up there somewhere. But
he doesn't need this.
No, he doesn't need this. So Frank can just let it go. So you can see the auto qualified 2C is trailing me by quite a bit, 30 or so. So I got a little bit of a lead on him. I'm chasing Fat Frankie down by 17. First place is 25K. Second place is 15K. Third place, I think, is 5. So big drop off there. So the one lineup's looking pretty good. Goff at home against Chicago. I think I'm rolling that way as opposed to Daniel Jones, even though at home against Indy. But weather, I'll take Goff at home against Chicago. And then I've been riding these stinking Washington running backs out because I got nothing. Royce Freeman, Justin Jackson, Kenyon Drake, CEH,
Wow.
Jordan Mason, Ty John, nothing.
Wow.
Nothing developed. Nothing. So I've been riding these two backs. Had a down week against the number one run defense in football, San Francisco, but now I've got a really nice matchup against Cleveland. So I'm hoping to get 25 combined out of those two because I've got CeeDee Lamb and Kelsey, the old main event champs riding the CeeDee Lamb Kelsey train. Higgins and Godwin starting those studs. KC against Denver. So I guess my only question is Juju against Denver, or do I slide down here and close my eyes and throw a dart at George Pickens or Deontay Johnson? What are your what do your instincts tell you?
I want to go to the bathroom. Can you ponder this? I'm going to say Deontay Johnson.
Yeah.
But
come on,
think about it. Talk about it.
Of course, I'm going to talk it out. But yeah, it's Deontay Johnson. I feel like is due. I'm like one of those guys who's like, hey, if Deontay Johnson hasn't scored yet, all the targets he's gotten, 120, 130 targets, he's due for a touchdown. Baltimore defense, not very good against the pass. Pickens is like a one-trick pony. Pickens is probably a better chance to score, but he also is getting 5 targets a week, So I have to kind of figure out, do I want to close my eyes, throw a dart at one of those two, or do I want to ride out Juju, who had his second biggest game of the year, I think, against Kansas or against Denver earlier in the year. Yeah, 9 for 74 and a score. The 22 fantasy points was his second biggest outing, even though Denver's a tough pass defense. So I kind of, with the Kelsey and Juju, I kind of like that stack in a game where Kansas City should blow them out. So yeah, it's I think I'm gonna go Juju in this one. And so that's probably the route I'm gonna go. Because again, I like that Chiefs stack, and I got some great matchups this week. CeeDee Lamb against Tennessee. Like Sean says, the Steelers wide receivers are way too thin. So we probably won't go with one of those guys, but I just wanted to pick Mike's brain on it to see if he had
and I left
an inside scoop, and then he left, and now he's back. But yeah, I mean Juju. So Mike, I was saying Juju had his second biggest fantasy output of the year was against Denver with 22 points a couple weeks ago, and so I'm wondering if I just ride that stack, that Kelsey Juju stack, and see if I can't get a couple touchdowns out of the both of them.
I would play Deontay Johnson.
Okay, why?
He is due to score.
Yep.
He is the best receiver on the team.
Yep.
I feel like they're evolving a little bit. Pickens is staying in. At the Ravens, a couple of things could happen. One is that Jackson comes back and the game sort of pops a little bit. Another is that Pittsburgh is just the better team and they just take it. As I've told you, so I have to stand corrected because of the last meeting. I have said over and over, people could look it up, but they don't. Every Steelers-Ravens game ever has ended 16-15. Yes, thank you, Twitter. I know it was 16-14 when they played the last time. But, most Pittsburgh-Baltimore games are ugly like that. I think I'm not into Juju at all. Like his numbers have been there. I haven't given him enough credit, but I like Johnson more.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I'll be thinking this through. I'll be obviously locked into CeeDee Lamb tomorrow against a horrible Tennessee pass defense. I'm hoping Tennessee rests some starters too to get ready for their playoff game next week. So that would be fun.
Does it matter if they do on defense? Like it doesn't really matter if they do.
Right. It doesn't really matter.
Cross your fingers with CeeDee Lamb this week. Like it's not even that big a game for Dallas either. So that could be a Thursday night cold weather clunker, I think. Yeah. And then I put your chips down on Kelsey and then also Deontay and see what it gets you.
Yeah, Kelsey hasn't scored in a month, even though he's been great. He hasn't scored in a month, so he's due for a couple touchdowns this week. So
they're playing Denver, so they could win 23-3.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if Higbee can put up 75 fantasy points against them, then what can Travis Kelce do?
Yeah, it's gonna be Noah Gray.
That's right. That's right. Maybe I'll pick up Noah Gray. There's still waivers in this league, by the way.
You have $7.
That's right. Hey, how did you see that? Come on. All right. So last but not least, pot chop. So I've got a home league. I've got a 3K entry I found a 3K entry home league, by the way, which is
Where?
insane. No, I'm not telling you.
On the west side of Rochester?
You're not invited. You're not. It's a by.
Not in Fairport in Sodus Bay. Where did you find this?
It's all these like poker player. It's like in a back room, smoky back room somewhere. That. But
this is what I want for 2023. This is what I want. One time.
So I sneak into this 3K home game, this home league. Make it a finals. It's first place is 13K, second place is 7K. My team stinks. I don't even know how it's like the opposite of like my other teams are good. They couldn't make it. This team just keeps winning and winning, and I have no idea how. So we get to the finals. This guy's team is loaded. So I offer, you're gonna hate me. My friends are gonna never talk to me again. But I was like, hey, I'm trying to imprint on this guy. I'm like, hey man, congrats on making the championship. I'm texting him with this inflection in my voice.
Did you say I'm Adam Krautwurst?
From the deep end.
From the deep end. Congrats on making the championship.
And he's like not interested at all. Like he's like absolutely not. Like I'm favored to win by a ton of points. I'm like, oh, I'm just trying to be friendly, whatever, and I just let it sit there. Couple hours later, comes back. Why don't we do 12 to first, 8 to second? That way, second place gets a little bit more, first place gets a little bit less, so you're guaranteed at least 8. How does that sound? I'm like, perfect. So it's not a chop, it's a change in the payout structure, which I think, listen, if the Bills guys are still listening, if Mario Leedy is still listening, reach out to second place. What is it? What's second place? 250,000 for second? I don't even know what it is. Chop it, then you go home. Everybody's happy. You're good to go.
Well, that guy I think is I'm with Balky tonight, so you could call him up and find
is
out.
he?
He would say to that. I think so.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling you hate the idea of the chop. You absolutely.
I do not. I do not. It is a negotiation tactic.
Yep.
There are sometimes future ramifications, implications. It's fine. If you think you're going to get destroyed in this game and it's 13-7 and you sent a shot across the bow, the guy came back with no, then he came back with 12-8, unless you think you have a better chance of winning than you're letting on, you should take it.
Right. Hope he's not listening. Hope he's not listening.
Is he more likely listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube? What is more likely?
That's right. Yeah, no.
What part of Rochester is it?
It's Gates, New York.
It's Grease Gates, Chai Lai.
Yep.
The smoky poker rooms are on Chai Lai Gates.
That's right. So apparently it's 200K to second place. So Sean says it's to be 600K each for the job. And that, but there's obviously other people involved in theirs. There's 10 guys chomping at the bit to get that $1 million. So, but yeah, I'm all for the pot chop at this time of the year, especially in like a high stakes league like that. Like, yeah, let me just get my 8K and run. So I have to pay.
I'll give you one.
My FFPC losses.
I know you've heard of it, the League of Shopes and Dreams.
I've heard of it. Yes.
So I'm in the finals against Kevin Payne of RotoWire.
Okay.
I won in 2019. He won in 2020. He was already set before last night. I wasn't. I needed Eckler over Williams. I got it late in the game. I texted him like, congrats, see you in the finals. Pretty soon thereafter, he says, so it's 800-300. This is a $100 league or thereabouts. Site fees and whatnot.
Yeah.
831, pretty typical. He said, should we change the payouts? I said, Kevin, way too soon to ask that question. Way too soon. I need at least 2 days.
Right.
Then I will know. I have to handicap our match. I just barely got there. I was never going to presume a victory. I just barely got there. At least let me go to sleep for one night. And then I will get back to you. But, some of those we do 50-50, it just depends on not even just the odds, but it depends on the guy.
Right.
If it's a friend, if you and I were in that situation, 800-300, and you know what, let's just split it and go out. and whoever loses can pay for the night.
Correct. Yep.
Everybody's happy.
Yep.
You know, you should there's get a trophy or whatever, win, whatever. Just it depends on the person. If you have a relationship with the person, this goes without saying, I think, but you can be way more liberal about how you approach that if they're your friend. And if they're not your friend, make them your friend. Like
Right.
Adam is trying to do in the 5K with these people from Gates who are, you know,
3K.
they smell terrible because of the smoke. And it's just gross. But Adam is still trying to hang out with them, even though he has little kids.
Listen, the place we had the draft, the name of it is Fatso's. It's a bar in Gates. That's all you need.
I've been there.
Have you?
No,
you
come on.
You, Fatso's and you won't even eat chicken.
I've been to Bathtub Billy's.
There, hey, love Bathtub Billy. Sponsor of the Rochester Flag Football League, by the way.
I hosted a game show I created that aired on Wham in Rochester that we hosted at Bathtub Billy's.
So Bathtub Billy's moved, by the way.
Okay, never mind. Did Rochester move? Did Wham move?
No, it's in the mall now. It's in the Grease Ridge Mall.
Well, it's probably never been the same.
Never, it hasn't. So, all right, my friend. Good luck this week.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Good luck.
Go Bills.
Right. Go Regals.
Go Regals. Are you coming to Rochester for a Regals game or what?
No, we're playing tomorrow at Niagara University.
Oh, wow.
My daughter's team is playing. So this is like a Niagara team. There's a bunch of Grand Island kids on it. So it's like all her friends. It's the one game she plays against her friends, boys. You know, but today we studied celebrations. So we're focused. We know what's important.
Well, listen, she can celebrate, but you can't look at the opponent while you celebrate because is that ice? What is that? Is that a minor or a major? Like I don't know what they call it in hockey. Is there a flag? They throw a flag on them, or
that's against the rules. If you taunt, that's taunting.
I think so. Yeah, in the NFL, like, you can celebrate all you want, but if you look at the other team and celebrate, like you can do first down like this, like gesture for the first down. But if you look at someone and do it, it's a penalty. Like it's
right.
Unbelievable.
By the way, Lenny is not backstage tonight. I was waiting to the end.
Lenny's not backstage. No, why would he?
Because I'm a big fan of the movie Quiz Show, and Van Doren's going along, and then Dave Garroway walks in like, "Oh, how would you like to? Here's a check. How would you like to host the Today Show? Whatever it was that he offered him." And I'm thinking like maybe I'm in second in the Draftsharks Invitational. Lenny and I are friends. He would sort of waltz in end of the episode like, you know, Mike, Scuderi's going to win, but here's $1,100. Would you like to be the host of the show?
He might do that
forward?
Still. He might.
And so I would probably agree to that. And then that's a pot chop.
That is a pot chop.
It's a pot chop.
Talk to Scuderi. Oh my gosh, what a pot chop that!
No, come on. Like, what do I? What's the number?
You can't. Can you pot chop a free roll? Come on. Yeah, how does that work?
That was my yearbook quote, and people thought it was amazing. Like, how does he even know what that is when he's 17?
That's right.
It's 5,000 to first. It's nothing to second. What does he say yes to?
Well, it's 5,000 to first. I was going to include the you get your league, you win your league. It's 500.
But so will he.
Right. I don't know. I mean,
would he take 3,500 right now?
Absolutely.
Really?
I would think it's only a 9-point lead. Come on. He would
text us your recommendations. If John is watching, he should text too. What should I offer him? What should he take?
He should take anything over 2,500 and a trip to Columbini's.
What?
A trip to Columbini's Pizza.
There's no way if I were in his position, I would take is there really? Would I not take $3,000? Maybe I would.
You would. On a free roll? Come on.
Oh, are we texting about this as soon as we get done?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, are we still live right now?
Yeah, you said we were. Okay. Enjoy your week 17 matchups. Couple of marquee matchups right here.
Yeah.
Oh, the 1958 NFL Championship game, the week 17 correlation we all dreamed of, West versus West.
Niners, Raiders.
Both
absolutely. All right, everyone.
Happy New Year. Thanks for watching, listening. At Deep End FF1. Stay warm. See you next week. And then the playoff challenge analysis is coming up.
Yes. Next week? Is it next week, right?
2 weeks,
2 weeks. Okay.
right?
Yeah, and then that night I'm coming to Buffalo to see the Sabres. We'll talk about that. It's going to be
In the morning of January 10th, we'll do a live show from Rochester. Matt Schauf, Jared Smola talking about playoff challenge strategy. And then Adam and I will drive west and go to see the Sabres.
That's perfect.
Thanks for watching and listening. Mike Shope, Adam Krautwurst, our best to you. This is The Deep End. Good night.